All right, for the first week of Algebra 2, we're not really getting into the book too much. I need to make sure you guys learn Algebra 1. I need to make sure you guys learn geometry. And I make sure that you have your general math skills. Because if not, you're going to need to come to some tutoring. Because I don't have time in Algebra 2 to teach you Algebra 1, general math, and geometry. I'm going to assume you know it. And we're going to move on. So to start with, to see if you need to be in this class, we have in your workbook a page that says 4.1 exercise. And it's just some general math problems. And I've made life easy for you. The answers are there. So I just need you to work those 39 problems and see if you get the answers that are there. 6x plus 3 equals 2x plus 5. So I'm going to work one for you. The last Algebra 1 I'm going to do for you, but I'll do this one. It's number 1, 6x plus 3 equals 2x plus 5. And you should have learned in Algebra 1 that to solve that, you want to get all the variables on one side and all the numbers on the other. You look to see which is bigger to avoid dealing with negative numbers. Last time I checked, 6 was bigger than 2. And how do you get things across the equal sign? You subtract. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now that's gone. 6 minus 2, I have 4x plus 3 equals 5. But I don't want 4x. I want x. So first I need to get rid of that 3. It's a plus 3. If I subtract it, it becomes 0. I have a 4x left. But you should have learned anything you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. I subtracted a 3, so I have to subtract a 3 here. 5 minus 3 is 2. Again, I have 4x equals 2. I want x. Remember, you do the opposite. I subtracted because they added. All right? This time they're multiplying, so I'm going to divide. 4 divided by 4 becomes 1. Now I have x. I divided that one by 4, so I have to divide that one by 4. So x is 2 over 4, and you should have learned somewhere along the line that you always put them in least terms. 2/4 will reduce. They're both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the answer is 1/2, which is the answer that's on your paper. So now you're going to do the other 39 questions. If you cannot do these, then we need to put you back into Algebra 1, or you need to come to some tutoring to get help with Algebra 1 so that you can move on to Algebra 2. This is going to be your first assignment. And it's listed here when it says Intro to Algebra Worksheet 4.1. Number 2 says a placement test, review of Algebra 1. That is the next page. And again, it's just a Chapter 1 placement test. It's asking you to do some Algebra 1 problems. You may use the book. You may use an Algebra 1 book if you need. Miss Tracy can get them for you out of the drawer. 1, 2, 3 are just simple equations. Work them. 4 is a word problem. I expect you to have trouble with the word problems. It's a compound interest. Principal times rate times time gives you interest. If that one gives you trouble, that's okay. Then does it state the property illustrated? I don't really care if you can name the properties as long as you can use them. I mean, if you know that when you add 0 to something, it doesn't change, or when you multiply by 0, it becomes 0, you don't have to know that this is called the 0 property of multiplication or the 0 property of addition. Just know how to use it, all right? But if you want to name them, you can look in the book. And then we're dealing with whole numbers, natural numbers, integers, etc. If you can't remember that, you're in luck, because the very first assignment we're about to do in the book goes back and reviews that. And then you're solving an open sentence. All that means is do the algebra work. And down on 12 and 13, if you can't remember absolute values, that's okay, because we're going to hit those pretty strongly in Algebra 2. There is a back to that, which gives you some word problems and some compound. And we're going to hit all of those pretty hard, so that's okay if they're giving you some trouble. So that's going to be your second assignment. Then we're beginning Chapter 1, Expressions and Formulas, on pages 8 through 10. So we're going to look at pages 8 through 10. expressions and formulas. Basically, just remember something that you saw all the time if you had me for pre-algebra or algebra 1. It's called, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Let's make our please a little darker. That means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You do those in order, going from left to right. So if there's parentheses in the equation, do that first. Then you do the exponents. Now multiplication and division means either one. Doesn't mean multiplication before. Either one going from left to right. And addition and subtraction, either one going from left to right. So let's do an example. Example 1. 5 plus 8 squared divided by 4 times 3. Are there any parentheses? No. Don't worry about it. Are there any exponents? Yes. So that's the first thing we do. 8 squared, that means 8 times 8. So now we have 64. So now we have 5 plus 64 divided by 4 times 3. Now multiplication and division going from left to right. That's addition, so ignore it. That's division. What's 64 divided by 4? Well, if you do the math, that's 16. So now you have 5 plus 16 times 3. Left to right. Multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. Ignore this, divide this. What's 16 divided by 3? Oh wait, 16 times 3, sorry. 16 times 3, 48. And then we add 5, so the answer is 53. Always remember this. What I always do is just write it on the paper. If you're taking a quiz, write that on the top. If you're doing homework, just write it down, and then you can remember. Then they have an example 2. They do the same thing. So let's do example 2 and 3, and then you can do some work. Example 2, we have brackets, and that's just parentheses outside of the parentheses. Then we have a parenthesis, 4 plus 8 squared divided by 9, bracket closed. And then we're going to multiply the whole thing by 5. And if you'll look, they went from left to right. And the first thing they did was there's some parentheses here. So we're going to do the parentheses. 8 plus 4 was 12. And then that is squared. Divided by 9. And then the whole thing is times 5. And you can see now they have 12 squared divided by 9. Then they're going to do the exponent. 12 squared, 144. Divided by 9 times 5. Because again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We did the parentheses. We did the exponent. Now we're going to do the division. 144 divided by 9 is 16. And now we're going to do the multiplication times 5, which gives you 80. And you're done. Now we have one more where you can fill variables in with numbers if they give them to you. And that's pretty easy too. You have 4x squared plus 3xy. They said solve that if x is equal to minus 3 and y is equal to 5. That means everywhere there was an x, you put in minus 3. And everywhere there's a y, you put in 5. And then you do the math. So now we have minus 3 squared, which is 9, times 4, which is 36, plus, and then I've got 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9, times 5, which is negative 45. Now I have a 36 plus a negative 5, which is negative 45. Signs are different. Subtract. Keep the sign of the larger. Remember how you deal with positive and negative numbers? If the signs are the same, add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, subtract, keep the sign of the larger. So now you're going to have some work to do for 1.1. Let's see what it said. 1.1, numbers 6 through 40, even only in the book. You also have a handout in here, more practice. It says Algebra II section 1.1, evaluate each expression. Right? And then when you're through with all of that, there is a quiz over section 1.1 to make sure you understand how to use order of operations and solve simple problems. And I believe that is all for week 1. Quiz 1.1a and 1.1b. So let's see. Here is the first quiz, and here is the second one. Once you finish the quizzes, A and B, you are done. When you get to this little picture of real numbers, irrational numbers, that's lesson 1.2, that's next week. So when you get to the end of section 1.1 and the 2 quizzes, which are open book, in math, I just need to know you know how to apply these principles, not memorize them. If I make you memorize them, you're going to forget them tomorrow anyways. You need to be able to use them so that when you get to college or you get out into the real world, you know how to use math for your benefit. All right? Any questions, watch the video again or see me on Saturday 9 to 12 or see one of the teachers that are here. They all know how to do this as well. And remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's it for this week.